Hey everybody, this is Alex. We are, talking about Hurricane Irma, and it's just a few moments ago that we were talking about Hurricane Harvey, and all of a sudden we have a Category 5 on our hands here. We don't know exactly where it's going to end up. We've been talking with Bobby about this all day long. Hopefully you've all been able to watch his work on Channel 10, but it looks like the Tampa Bay area has a really decent shot at getting hit by this storm pretty severely. So we definitely have to prepare. We have to do everything that we can to make sure that if it does, we will be ready for the next few days. If we need that food, we need that water, whatever it may be. However, what I think a lot of you are running into right now, like I did at Publix before work this morning, is long lines and a lack of a lot of things that we need, including water. I talked about this earlier today, but we have a couple of tricks that I want to share with you for those of you who have not been able to find water, because it's really difficult since everybody's going after the same thing at the same time. We have a bunch of tips on other things as well, but the first thing I want to mention, which I thought was a really great tip, somebody shared this on Twitter, was if you can't find water at your local grocery store, which I'm sure a lot of you who don't have it yet will probably not be able to from now on. There's some new shipments here and there, and if you're one of those people who happens to be there right when the store opens up, then good for you, and you got to get a couple of maybe cases. But if you're not, then one great idea was buy the cheapest carton of anything that you can find. I saw somebody on Twitter buy one of these Publix brand fruit punch containers that just looked like a milk container. So one of those large containers had some pink purple concoction in it. So you just buy those, they're cheap, and dump it all out. And then after you dump it out, go to the sink, fill it up with tap water, and you have the water that you want. And luckily, a lot of those things are still on the shelves because people don't quite realize that it's actually that easy. What we really need are containers, not necessarily to buy water. We just need something to put water in because we have water right now. So that's a good tip. Another thing, if you can't find those cases, look for the single bottles of water. You can find those in vending machines all over the place, at your gym, at the local CVS, almost anywhere you will find those single bottles of water, really sold at even little, little stores. If you go to the restaurant, a little salad place, they often sell just solo bottles of water. They cost, when they are solo, they cost a little bit more. Maybe you're paying $1.50 or something like that, but it's worth it. So if you want to just buy them out, buy 12 of them, you can do that. And people aren't necessarily thinking that way. If you go to like a little, little restaurant, something like that, just buy a little bottle of water. Let's see. What was my other water bit of advice? Okay, so here's something interesting. When we are going to be in the hurricane, if we do really get hit, a good idea for those of you who will be in your own homes and have a freezer, obviously, something I read online that I thought was really good, a great bit of advice. Get one of those bottles of water, fill it halfway, and freeze it. So you get that bottle of water, and when it's frozen halfway, whenever you lose the power, whenever the power is actually gone, you just keep an eye, just turn it to the side, keep an eye on that bottle of water. If the water has officially melted the whole way, at that point, do not eat whatever is in the freezer. But at least at that point in time, if the water's still frozen, still somewhat frozen, you'll actually visually be able to tell that the food in there is likely still good. But if it has completely melted, then that is not a good idea. I've got a bunch more here to share, but let me get to what you're saying, because what we really want to do is just get a collective going here. We can share advice with each other. Maybe you have found something that's especially helpful, and I want to get it out to everybody because this is really important. Okay, so Christy says, I'm leaving, going to my family in Missouri. Smart move. Hey, Michelle, good evening. Let's see, a lot of you are tuning in from a lot of different places. Joanne says, no gas anywhere. You got to keep trying. You got to keep trying. It's tough. Yeah, a lot of places are running out. But There are a lot of gas stations that still have gas. The lines are really long though, so make sure that you keep going around to see if you can find something. The tip is, make sure, if you can, that you have 3/4 of your car filled up. If you have 3/4 of your car filled up with gas, then you will have enough gas to evacuate if you need to evacuate, whatever the case may be. Just do not be on a quarter tank when you're in the middle of a hurricane. Just make sure that you have at least 3/4 of the car filled up. Dana says, got water and supplies in Tifton, Georgia on our way home from vacation to Tampa. You know, here's something else, although I'm not sure that this bit of advice is still going to be valid right now. It was this morning. There are stores that sell cases of water that you actually wouldn't imagine. Office supply stores like Staples, for example. Somebody tweeted that there was an entire display of cases of water because office supply stores often sell water as well, but people just don't think about that when they're preparing for a hurricane because they're thinking about Publix, they're thinking about Winn-Dixie, they're thinking about Walmart. So definitely think about those things and any of those stores that might sell water that are not grocery stores. And don't forget about your Walgreens, don't forget about your CVS as well. Ellen says, I have been unable to buy water, so filled jugs. All right, Ellen, great. Gabrielle says, can you believe it? Walmart was out, but is having a new truckload soon. Yeah, so they fill those up. Catalina, you said they fill them up around midnight. Walmart is going to get another.
Yeah, our assignment editor had called a Walmart, and the one she called said that they were expecting a shipment tonight, sometime between 10 and midnight. Okay. So the goal is to get there when that shipment arrives. Now, how quickly you can access it, I'm not sure, but that was one Walmart. Okay. I'm not sure if that's how the procedure is with most.
Okay, so yeah, that's really good. Yeah, yeah. So make sure to call ahead before you make that trip. Yeah, Ryan's got a suggestion.
It's a good idea. If any of you have Amazon Prime, you can order cases of water on Amazon Prime. It'll be here in 24 hours. So that's something else to note as well. That if you're having trouble finding water in these stores, if you've got an Amazon Prime account or know somebody that has one, probably a good idea because that obviously just gets delivered straight to your door. You avoid any lines and having to wait for water, and obviously it would come before Irma comes to the area. So that's something else to think about.
Yes, that is great, Ryan. Thank you for that. Thank you. Such good advice, everybody. Okay, so Kelly says, I was told all Publix get trucks Thursday. Clearwater Sam's Club is getting water tomorrow morning, said to be in line before opening. Wanda, how are you going to stock up on supply if they run out as soon as they come in? Well, unfortunately, you got to kind of have to be there whenever the trucks come in and they unload those you know, basically all the new water. But I saw another tweet online with somebody who posted a photo when all the new water came in. They were putting it on the shelves. He said in 5 minutes it was all gone. So I think when it comes to the water, if you can find it, fantastic. And actually, Ryan's bit of advice I was going to talk to you about a little bit later. Amazon is one way to get it. Look, I had pulled up this page here. So here, for example, Essentia water. This is a pack of 12. One-time purchase here on the right. Says it would arrive by September 7th. So that's before hurricane. That would be on Thursday. So, you know, Amazon is still a good way to do this if you really have no other options and you don't have any water. However, if you're going to do the Amazon option, make sure that you're doing it now because you don't want to run out of time. These are the few buffer days that are very useful in getting things shipped before those planes stop flying, before those trucks stop driving. Let's see. Kelly says long lines, no water, no gas. Sue says, okay, just face it. Look at this beast. It's going to cover almost entire state of Florida. Get ready. And also, Florida's the kind of state, it's very transient. A lot of people move here who actually weren't born here. I was born in Miami. I grew up in Miami. I know the state very well, and I also remember Hurricane Andrew. Actually, Ryan here, who just talked to you, was also in Hurricane Andrew, and I think Catalina was as well. So people who grew up and experienced Hurricane Andrew know how serious hurricanes can be, especially a Category 5. This Category 5 joins a very small club of other Category 5s that have hit the United States. This will only be the 4th one, period. Category 5 is very serious. So nobody should be panicking, but you really do have to prepare for it being serious. Do not take this lightly, especially those people who do not have experiences with hurricanes. This isn't something to just wing, throw a little hurricane party. No, be wise about it. Gabriella says the Container Store. Diane says I found water in my sink. There you go. Just get some pitchers, like Jody just says, pitchers and milk jugs work very well. Fill those up with tap water. You will be set. You wouldn't even have to worry about it. Sarah says clean tub and fill it up. Kevin says stop being negative, people, because it's so serious about this hurricane. Marianne says just fill containers you already have in your home with water, pitchers, pots, jars, etc. Perfect. Angie says always save milk jugs. Here's another little trick. This is a little more on the creative side, but one of our reporters, Josh Sidorowitz, had talked about this in his story today. If the power goes out and you've got, let's say, one flashlight, the flashlight is directional, doesn't light up the whole place. If you place one of these water bottles on top of your flashlight, or perhaps one of those water jugs on top of your flashlight, it actually lights up more of the space. It becomes a little bit more of an, you know, a light that kind of, anyway, you got my idea. It'll light up more of your apartment or more of your home. Caroline says she's filling up anything that she has with water. Chrissy says buy tea pitchers and fill those. Mark says packing up with my fam and headed to North Carolina. Good idea. Maria says will schools be open tomorrow? It depends on where you are. Let me Google this for you. Let's see. Sorry, this is going to take me a second, guys. Let's see, Pinellas, we're monitoring the status of Hurricane Irma. Okay, monitoring it. Hillsborough, as of 5 p.m. on Tuesday, September 5th, a decision regarding school closures will be made by the end of the day on Wednesday. So in Hillsborough County, at the end of the day tomorrow, you will find out about schools. Jamie says, have your solar outside lights charged and bring inside for light if you lose power. Also, for those of you who have kids, I remember from when I was a kid, Catalina has kids, she's preparing for her kids as well. Have something for them to do. You're often just sitting around, I remember, for hours, and kids get very bored. They, you know, obviously this is a very serious situation, but if you give them something to play with, something to take their mind off of the severity of the situation, that helps. And it calms them down.
And it was a good reminder. Bo talked about it last night in our show. It was a great reminder about like board games. We remember it because we were, you know, as kids, board games were a big thing, but now so much of what we do now is like technology. So yeah, that's a great piece of advice.
Yeah. You know what? I remember going through these hurricanes when I was a kid. It rarely do you have, especially today, a time to just be with your family with nothing, literally nothing else to do. Hopefully everybody makes it out safe.
Right.
But those moments can actually, in an odd way, sort of be kind of nice. You have some nice bonding time with your family, and you know, play a couple games, just pass the time by. Again, hopefully everybody will be safe. Let's see. Lou says, I'm leaving New York to drive home to Polk County, Florida on Friday. Will be an issue getting into Florida late Saturday. I'm leaving New York to drive home to Polk County, Florida on Friday. Lou, I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should really reconsider that. Saturday is going to be... Lou says he's leaving New York to drive home to Polk County, Florida on Friday. Will there be an issue getting in Florida late Saturday? Yeah, that's when the hurricane's going to be hitting. Lou, I would not... Yeah. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I would not be on the roads. I would just stay where you are. Yeah, stay where you are. You know, I don't know if you're gonna be with a friend or a family member, just stay there a little bit longer and then come after. And don't come down here for the hurricane. Stay away and then just come after. Gwen says, I have water, putting my jewelry in a safety box. All my dogs have tags, found shot records, gathered insurance papers, deed, etc. Packing Thursday. Gonna drive north if it's hitting here. I'm just south of Tampa. You know, people who've experienced hurricanes often know this. Like, get those important documents, put them in those, you know, resealable plastic bags, put them in a safe place. Another bit of advice that Josh Surowitz had shared was you can actually put those important documents, when you have them in those sealed bags, you can put them in, of all places, the dishwasher in your house. Why? I know that sounds a little bit crazy. The dishwasher is waterproof. It's the whole point of the dishwasher. So if you put things in there, they're likely going to actually be safe from getting wet. So obviously make sure that you empty that dishwasher first, but it's a good piece of advice. Rhonda says, watching this hurricane closely. I have friends that live in Florida and some family that live on the East Coast. Stay safe, plan early, and get out of Dodge. Callie says, so confused on if and when to leave from St. Pete. Yeah. So, well, Callie, if you're going to be staying here, are you planning on actually leaving Florida for the hurricane? You know, those answers would depend. I'm not sure exactly what your options are, but I mean, if you're going to be leaving Florida, I'd say leave as soon as you can. Ellen says, sticking it out in Prospect Towers. Yes, little bottles are all that are left. Dana says, 20 per case of water at a mobile on 301 across from Waffle House where I work. Andrea says, will there be school tomorrow? I'm not sure where you're writing in from, but according to the Hillsborough County Schools Twitter page, as of 5 p.m. tomorrow, so that would be, let's see, a decision regarding school closures will be made by the end of the day tomorrow. That's when we find out. Lauren says, fill a tea kettle with water. Jamie says, I live in Vero. Please look at the path I just sent. Gabriella says, I have to go to work now. Jackie says, get bags and fill them up with water and use them in your cooler to keep things cold. You can also freeze your bottled water and put them in a little cooler, and that will have a double purpose. You can actually cool the food that you have inside, and then when they finally melt, you can use it as water. So that helps too. Also, towels under the, on the windowsills. Put them down there. It can help from, water getting inside. If you live on the first floor of your home, your apartment building, another great tip from Josh's story was get those disposable aluminum cooking tins, and you can actually put them under the legs of your furniture pieces, so they actually prevent a certain amount of water from touching your furniture. Allison says, I put water in Ziploc and storing it flat. Patty says, from Hudson, I living in Florida a long time. I save gallon jugs and soda 2-liter bottles. Those are great to fill, and freezing water for ice. Perfect. Tara says, hello from Michigan. Jason says, I'm purchasing a generator for Checkers in Ellenton. Gabriella says, Rick Scott confirms us state of emergency. What's that mean? I have to look it up though. Basically what that means is it allows more cash to come in for assistance to deal with the hurricane. So it's actually a little bit less dramatic than it sounds, but it just gets things going. Katie says, same Allison, bags of water frozen. Cheryl says she's tuning in from Canada. Gabriella, thank you so much for tuning in. Amy says, I went through many hurricanes in Florida growing up, and now I'm in Massachusetts. I already have 3 cases of water and some jugs also, planning ahead. Ellen says, good advice about the frozen bottle. Let's see. Lise says, recycle old bottles and jugs and fill them with water, put in freezer, keep food cold. Yes, if you just freeze your water, have some of it to drink at the earlier, in the earlier part of the hurricane, and then freeze the other one so you can actually keep the stuff cold, and it'll eventually melt anyway, and then you can drink that. So it helps. Tara says, where are the evacuation orders at in Florida? That's a lot of information from different areas. I know that Miami Beach is now in a voluntary evacuation. The mayor there is encouraging everybody who can get out to get out. And I definitely think people in Miami, I mean, I don't know if any of you saw the video of just recently, there was a weather event that happened in Miami. It was just a lot of rain, and the city was completely underwater. It was shocking. So I really hope a lot of people take that up. Suzanne says Tampa. Oh, and also Key West, mandatory evacuation. Key West it seems like it's going to get this pretty bad. And I think it's mandatory. Yeah. Let me see, Key West. Let me just confirm that. Hold on. Stay with me. Stay with me. Yes. The Keys, mandatory visitor and resident evacuations begin Wednesday. Suzanne says Tampa Bay area, long gas lines and no bottled water in any of the stores. Rosemary, put ice in washing machine to keep cold. Yes, Josh talked about that as well. When you put ice in the washing machine, you can keep things cold in there. And again, when the ice melts, the washing machine is actually meant, that's the whole purpose of the machine. So it's meant to absorb that water. So you're going to be completely fine. So that's another, good place to keep your things cool. Margarita says hi from Riverview, as I'm ready as possible, hoping for the best. Tracy, it's my job, and I appreciate you pointing that out. Thank you. Julie says you can put a quarter on the top of the half-frozen bottle, and if it falls into the bottle, you know it was fully defrosted. Donna says fill tub up, flush toilet. Jose says fill the bathtub with water. Connie says fill baggies or Tupperware with water and freeze. Cheryl says be safe. Heard water is very high price. So wrong. And speaking of which, Pam Bondi has announced a price gouging hotline. Let me get you that number. Hotline price. Stay with me. Hotline price gouging Pam Bondi. As a matter of fact, I tweeted it earlier, so let me just tell you what it is. Go to my Twitter account. And by the way, everyone watching, we at WTSP are going to be covering this thing all day, all night. So you can follow us on Twitter, any of our accounts. We're going to be on this Facebook Live, all the different outlets. Okay, so if you spot any price gouging in Florida, you're encouraged to call this number and report it. It's 866-9-NO-SCAM. Again, 866-9-NO-SCAM. Dolores says, going to bed and over my head, Montana. Ask me again when it's -20 and water pipes are frozen with 3 feet of snow. It's so dark in here. Here we go. Michelle says, 30-gallon size trash bags and baby wipes will be your friends. Also keep paper plates and utensils on hand as well. Yes, great idea. To cut down on dirty dishes in the sink if you have to go to a shelter. Yeah, you don't want to be, wasting any water. Bob says, before the storm gets close, turn fridge and freezer as cold as possible. Keep it colder longer. Good idea. Nellie says, in Pensacola. I don't think so. Pensacola. But let me Google it for you. Stay with me, stay with me. Trying to answer this question about Pensacola and evacuations. City officials are aware. Okay. The city of Pensacola wrote in a news release, city officials are aware of the weather forecast and we are taking necessary precautions. Let's see. Escambia County Emergency Management is closely monitoring Hurricane Irma. Residents are urged to do the same by monitoring our local media for the most up-to-date forecast daily. Not yet. Not yet. Joshua says maybe you can go to racetrack to get some gas. Barbara says coming in agreement with everyone in prayer in Jesus Christ's name, amen. Cheryl says I have one cabin left if you can make it to Western North Carolina, available starting tomorrow. Edwina says I'm reusing large juice bottles to wash and fill with water for the fridge and partially filled ones for the freezer. Perfect. Susan says filling containers with pure water filter from my sink. Britta works well too. Aisha says, is there no school Thursday or Friday? Depends on the county that you're in. I don't know where you are, because our station's in Tampa. I'll just guess Hillsborough, and they're going to be announcing what the plan on schools will be tomorrow night. They're going to make the decision and announce it. Denise says, I want to know about propane. If I get it and the storm doesn't hit, how do I store it? If I put it in a shed with as hot as it is, would it explode? Denise, that is a great question. I do not know the answer to that one. I'm gonna have to Google that. I think it would take a little bit too long while I have everybody else here on this Facebook Live. But if you can shoot me a message on my Facebook page, which is linked in the description here, I'll find the answer for you and I'll message to you back. Ibis says there's no water in Tampa. There's still some water, but yeah, it's really difficult to come by. But I think the best thing at this point, honestly, is just, whoa, so dark, okay, is doing what I had said earlier by just buying anything, whether it's fruit juice, whatever it may be, dump what you bought and fill it up with tap water, and you've got it. Nikki says praying from Vermont. Thank you for that. Patricia says you freeze a cup of water, put a dime on top when frozen. Then if power goes out, food goes bad, dime will be at the bottom of the cup. Exactly. That's sort of like the trick that I was talking about before, another version of it. Cheryl says, when should we start filling tub and getting ready? Well, this is going to be, again, we don't really know where this is going to hit. It could jet off into the Gulf. If it goes far enough, that'll be good for us. Unfortunately, it will not be good for Texas. And we have to think about them too, because they're still dealing with Harvey over there. It really depends. It depends where, but this is going to be a Saturday, Sunday, Monday event for us here in Tampa Bay. But I'm not sure exactly where you are though. Christina, Miami's obviously going to get it first. Christina says, is the evacuation only for South Florida because I live in Mount Dora? Let's see. Mount Dora. I do not think Mount Dora has, an event. It's north, yeah. I highly doubt that they have one, but I'm going to just check right now. Yeah, there is no evacuation for you yet. But definitely keep checking up on that. Cheryl says, fill up on water as much as you can. Cindy says, use your solar garden lights for light instead of using your flashlights. Put them out before the storm and replace morning after storm and pull each night. Yeah. Sonia says, in St. Petersburg, is there going to be gas by Thursday night? That is a gas station by gas station case situation. So, man, you're going to have to check. You're just going to have to check. Martha says these storms are man-made, government hiding something. The storms are not man-made, and this doesn't have to do with the government. I mean, some would argue that this is like can tie into global warming and all that, but these storms are certainly not government made. Lisa says Tallahassee, Florida, Lowe's and Home Depot. Oh, it's 9:59. Okay, so I'm gonna get a few other comments, and I'll be getting off the Facebook Live soon. And of course, we'll have our 11 o'clock news where you can tune in, and we're gonna talk all about Irma, and we'll have plenty of more information for you, but I've still got some more comments here. Jackie says, get a new trash can and put water in it, and you can use it to wash off or use it for drinking water. Brittany says, in Orlando area, is there a water company that has water? I'm sure there's still, water throughout Florida. It's just difficult to find, so you're just gonna have to get creative. Either fill jugs with tap water, or just think outside the box. You know, try little offbeat restaurants and stuff. You can find single bottles of water in a lot of places like that. Yes, so Rosemary says, see your vac zone on electrical bills. Anita says, turn your AC really low before it hits, so if you lose power, it is cool in your home for a bit longer. Great idea. Ellen says, if you are evacuating when it hits 3-4 will not help. I'm a senior. No access to stores. Walgreens is out. All right, so it's 10 o'clock. We'll just get a couple more in. Melissa says, empty milk jugs, fill with tap water. And Jason says, freeze a coin in a cup in freezer. Watch it then know if stuff is bad. Yes, that's one of those tricks to find out if your food is still good for you. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning into this Facebook Live. Thank you for sharing your tips so that we can all learn about it together. I'm, also ingesting this information because, of course, we are all individually preparing for this hurricane as well. So thank you so much for that. And again, our 11 o'clock news is coming up, so you can tune in for that. Plenty more information on Hurricane Irma. And follow us online, our Facebook page, our Twitter page. You can also get all of our individual pages, and we'll be updating you all on everything to do with the storm. You'll hear from us first. So again, thank you, and stay safe, everybody, okay? Bye-bye. We'll talk to each other tomorrow.